That's right. And, you know, we gave a cell phone, there was no cell phone service up there. We gave him things to, you know, to scare bears away, and when he gets home, he'd call and he'd say, well, I got all my digits.
I've taken Boy Scouts up in that area, you know, camping and stuff like that, but we go with a group of about 5 or 6 of us. So if something happens,
Yeah, we did
we've
that.
got somebody that can canoe back and try to get help.
Yeah. Okay, should we start?
Sure, I'll hit the button. Give me a second here, just to start things up. Okay, Bob, we're ready.
Okay, all right. Call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Architectural Board of Review, September 6, 2022. Mike, you want to call the rolls, though?
Yes. Member Cottrell,
Present.
Member Dahlman,
Here?
Member Kerouac,
Here.
Member Stradiff. Here. And Chair Hunter.
Here.
All 5 are present.
Okay. The minutes of the August 2nd meeting, anybody have any comments, corrections, whatnot? It's a fairly short meeting, simple meeting.
No comments.
That was a noise. What does that mean?
I said no comments.
Okay.
I move the minutes be approved.
Okay,
I second.
all right. Is you still voting on this?
Yeah,
All right, roll call.
okay. Member Stradiff. Aye or nay on the minutes? Member Kerouac.
Aye.
Aye. Member Dahlman.
Aye.
And Member Cottrell.
Aye.
And Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this point, we ask anybody that would be in the audience or in the TV audience that would like to address something that is not on the agenda, now is your time to speak. Nobody at home?
And just to let everybody out on the Zoom audience know, if you would like, are requesting to speak, just hit the raise your hand button, and then we will allow you to speak. I don't see anyone. I think everyone's here for items on the agenda.
Okay,
Wait. You gotta,
Sure.
You said any non-agenda items?
any non-agenda items?
Correct, yep.
We'll talk about this WRD proposal, when is that?
That will
Right
come up
now.
next. That'll come up next.
Agenda item.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep,
That's an agenda item, so.
yep.
Okay, so now,
So,
I want to speak then. This is the time to do it?
not yet. Not yet,
Oh, not yet.
not yet.
yep, yep.
The order of things
Correct.
is Nick is going to make a presentation, and in SW,
Actually, everyone who would like to speak on this item will go ahead and swear everybody in. right?
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, so anybody, yeah, this is a public hearing, so we're gonna open a public hearing, and anybody that wants to speak has to stand up and get sworn in. Okay, so, repeat after me, I forgot it now.
here it is.
Yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the testimony you are about to give? If so, please say I do. That's all you have to do. Thank you.
I'd just like to note that we received written comments from 4 people, and those have all been emailed and printed for the board members here. It's Nan Caldwell, Mickey Collins, Bill Herman, and George Russell. So we got their comments, thanks.
Okay. So now, you're gonna start off then?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Swarthout. I'm the trustee for this ward, Ward 4 in the North Shore Water Reclamation District. Thank you for having us this evening. I'm joined by Dave Miller, who's the general manager, and my good friend Nick Patera, who's been involved in the project from day one. We're thrilled to be here at this stage, and we're looking forward to some of your comments and your recommendations. As you know, this has been a long process. Our intent is to make sure we protect Lake Michigan and its water. Being a kid that grew up in Lake Forest and conducted my business out of Lake Forest, I'm a home builder and a general contractor as well as a developer. I've been involved in very many historic homes in and around Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, David Adler homes, Howard Van Doren Shaw homes, new construction. And so I'm very sensitive towards the architecture of any project I'm involved in, but this one, when I was first introduced to the project a number of years ago, I've been a trustee for almost 10 years, it's quite disappointing to say the least. And with Nick's help, we think we've come up with a plan that really addresses some of the needs of the village, as well as the primary need, and that's to protect the lake. So with that, I'd introduce Nick. I do have to make a point, though. There are 4 other trustees, Zion, North Chicago, Waukegan, and Highland Park. Not all of them have the same kind of passion about architecture that I do. And so we have a fiduciary responsibility to really protect the citizens of the entire district. And I think we've gone above and beyond with the addition and the modifications to the building and the site. So with that, I'd like to introduce Nick, who will walk you through the plans.
Thank you, Tom.
Could I just ask our AV guy in the back room if you're seeing that message on the screen, if you could just press continue to clear that out? Thanks a lot. Bye.
It's because you want to see me better?
Right, yeah.
I can understand that.
Yep.
My name's Nick Patera. My company is Tesca Associates. We have been retained to look at the waterfront, including North Shore Water Rec District, North and South Beach at Sunrise. What you're looking at here is the ability to put in a new 1 million-gallon storage tank. If you've read your packets, the tank will be receiving overflow water in the event that there's a storm event or a power outage or so on, to be able to retain sanitary waste water on the property until the power can kind of resume. The 1 million gallon tank is essentially underneath what's now on the south side, the North Shore Yacht Club. It'll be contained underneath the surface, so you won't quite know it's there. It's under 3 feet of sand, although it's an enclosed chamber with a concrete roof. The roof would be covered back over with sand on top of it. The event of putting this in is going to take through the summer of 2023 to build and excavate, to build and construct, and it'll put the beach out of business, or at least the mid part of the beach out of business for that time period. In the process of doing this, we've been asked by Village of Lake Bluff, by North Shore Water Rec, to look at what other enhancements can go back in. The Yacht Club has received, or would receive, some funds to restore what would be torn down. The existing racks and their facilities would have a compensation. They can use that at their discretion. Then the road, I'm going to kind of take on a tour here, but the road from the top of the hill going down will be used for construction hauling. That road will get milled and replaced with a new surface when the work is complete. So it will be a spanking fresh new road. And then once you hit down at the bottom of the beach, at the what's now kind of the deteriorated asphalt flat plateau, it's generally on the east side, the north and the south side of the buildings. That will get replaced with a concrete, almost like a plaza type surface. It'll still allow heavy vehicles, if it's a sand truck bringing sand down to replenish the beach. If it's a garbage truck, if it's an emergency vehicle, that will be built to support that type of vehicle. But the whole idea is to make the connection between North Beach and South Beach look like more of a pedestrian space, more like a pedestrian plaza. By the way, yes, it can support these vehicles. So that was one of the other influences that we had with site planning. So coming down the road, you'll come around the curve. Right when you hit the curve, I don't know if you want to show any of these exhibits as I go through this, and I can kind of steer you through it.
Yeah, I could do that.
There's a site plan, Mike, after the first or second one in, and we can come back to any one of these.
Doing a great job.
We'll keep going. As you get down to the end of the road, right now, you're greeted by the north facade of the building. There's some tired-looking trees that are there. You're also seeing electric transformers. We wanted to clean that look up, and so we did an elevation of the north side of the building, but we also narrowed the road. It's still wide enough to allow vehicles to get down, boats with trailers, trucks with trailers, the garbage trucks, and so on. But we're putting a widened planting bed at the base on the north side of the building. And if any of you saw earlier versions of this, we didn't have that planting bed there, but this will allow trees to grow up along the north facade. And we're also then wrapping the east facade of the building with a widened planting bed, so I can have trees up against the building. Right now, it's pretty much devoid of vegetation except for one lonesome juniper that's growing on the east side where the old vending cabinets used to be on the east side of the building. We've been asked by residents to put in native-derived plant material. I've looked at the Park District's plans, and Cliff Miller put together a pretty complete inventory of what the Bluff planting was. He didn't really inventory down at the Water Reclamation District plant because there wasn't anything there. But I think the idea here is to plant with species that would look like they belong to the toe of the bluff, and they wrap around the building on the north, they wrap around the building on the east, and then on the building itself, great, you're getting some good existing conditions pictures. This is the tree planting I'm talking about. Also on the east facade, if anybody has kind of memorized what this looks like, there's a couple of high doors and a balcony that are up there with a davit arm, kind of a crane, to get access to the pump house building. That's going to get removed and generally cleaned up. The building itself, the yellow brick building, which is the pump house, that's the northern building, that's not getting much change other than George Russell has made some comments about trying to clean up some of the errant wires and conduit that's wrapping around the building. Then to the south of the pump house building, we're putting in a new building. It's called a wet well. It's essentially a junction box that will allow discharge water from the storage tank to be recirculated into the lift pumps that will take it back up the hill and eventually back down to be processed way down in Highland Park. So the wet well was a concern, and because initially the design that was prepared some years ago had the wet well on the east side and kind of looking like a growth on the east side of the pump house building. We've through village comments and constructive recommendations, moved the wet well building to the south side of the pump house building, so we keep a clean east facade. That was the concern. We were making a lot of projections with added buildings. Now it's all kind of tucked in along south of the south corner of the pump house building. In addition to the wet well building, which is this recirculator junction box that we have to build, we also have the two doors that you see on this tilt your head sideways elevation. Those are bathroom doors that will, not there now, but the proposal would be to build two new bathrooms. One's a conventional single bathroom with sink and toilet. The other one was an ADA scale bathroom. It's a little bit more generous. It could be family, it could be ADA compliant. But that kind of cleans up the whole east facade. The building that's on the left with the two high dark tinted panels, that's the odor control building. And then between the odor control and the building on the top, you don't think you could rotate that, do you?
I don't
Don't lose
think
it.
so. Yeah, I don't.
It's okay.
I don't think I can do that in the middle of a PDF.
If you guys can follow, we'll keep going. Between the two buildings, the generator previously was projecting out into the drive area, that's going to be pushed back west toward the bluff. But in order to push the generator back towards the bluff, we have to raise it up so it doesn't munch into the toe of the bluff. So it's going to go up and back and not intrude into the bluff. But we also are screening that generator with a louver-type screen, similar to the louvers that are on the pump house building. And I didn't mention, we're also adding some screening at the toe of the road coming down on the north side to help screen some of the electrical switchgear transformers that you see on that flat roof when you come down the road. So lastly, I'm still touring around on the very southernmost side. You'll see kind of a blue-gray, these are the trash enclosures that would be at the end of that little short drive, that it would allow a trash truck to come pick them up. Thanks, that's good. And we've added a recycle bin, so if anyone comes down to the beach right now, they're just throwing everything in the trash, but now we have trash and recycle. Park District wants a jumbo 8-yard dumpster down there, which we've accommodated, but also in that little alley that's at the bottom of the page, it's a little drive, there's utility structures that we have to get access to. There's manholes that are part of the whole sanitary sewer underground system. If they have to maintain those, if they have to clean them, if they have to get access to them, and also get over to the south side of that little drive where the storage tank will be, we'll pull the trash enclosures or the trash dumpsters out of there so they can get a truck and a lift and a crane back into that little driveway. So it's serving kind of dual purpose. For the most part, it will be just for trash, and it's tucked so far back in that we, Mike Croak had also made a comment on your notes that we're not putting it in a enclosure because we have to keep access so that when you pull the trash out or the dumpster out because you want to get to one of the manholes, it's a clean, easy driveway without a structure obstructing the access. I've gone through a number of things with the site. There's a complete landscape plan now that favors at least native-derived plant material. Most of the plant material is now trees that go in a vertical habit, upright, narrow, columnar-type trees. But there are things like oak, maple that you would also find on the bluff. So the idea is that this would be maintained in a naturalistic kind of a look. And I think the big picture here is that we're really trying to bridge between North Beach and South Beach as a walkable plaza that happens to turn into a parking lot when they need it. The other rest of the items on the building, there was some comment about a big piece of plumbing pipe. It's a vent pipe that goes between the south building, that's the odor control building, and the north building, that's the pump house. And it looks like a big elbow. We're looking at whether or not that could have a different paint color, so it just fades into the background. Right now, I painted it with the kind of an accent color that's a dark comments. I had dark gray. Someone said make it more of a bronze color to match the existing louvers, and whether or not this tube needs to be round or rectangular, it might be able to be shaped and look like it's a little bit less like a plumbing fixture and more like something that might be fitting for the building. Some of the elevations that Mike is reeling through, the only other thing that was asked was about lighting. There are some security lights, more or less wall pack, that are up high on the building. With the 2 bathrooms, we're adding one simple shielded light that's manufactured by Bega, that's in your package, BEGA, that will have a downcast light. It's not really trying to illuminate anything other than just the doorway areas. I'm happy to answer questions, but I think that's a pretty good overview.
Okay, do we want to do this first, or do we want to do the audience first?
I'd say let's hear from the audience first.
Okay. All right, so we're going to let the audience make their comments first before we entertain everything Nick has showed us. So whoever wants to start?
And obviously, come up to the
come up to
podium
the
and
podium,
please speak
say-
into the microphone
Yep.
for the sake of anyone who's watching on Zoom at home, on TV.
Give your name
whatever.
and,
My name is George Russell. I'm a resident at 448 Gurney Avenue, but I'm actually here tonight. I also serve on the Park District's Park and Beach Committee. I had a conversation with John Beeler this morning, the executive director of the Park District. John's unable to make it tonight, and he asked if I would relay a couple comments on behalf of the Park District. John just wanted to confirm that the Park District is in support of these plans as they are presented. He did want to clarify also that there was a note in the staff report that the Park District had not asked for screening of the dumpsters. They would prefer that the dumpsters be screened. They like where they are now, tucked way back. But, the North Shore has indicated that there's a problem getting the manholes. We can't have a fixed structure there. But he did want to confirm that wasn't a request to the Park District not to screen the dumpsters. He also specifically mentioned that the Park District is in favor of the enhanced vegetation with the widened planting beds, as opposed to an earlier plan that showed the mural and another option that showed the trellis, a trellis just mounted on the walls with a thin ivy or something going up. They favor the heavier plantings that are as proposed because they feel that it would help to screen the building. And then he just had two other little housekeeping comments that he wanted me to forward on the record to North Shore, and that was a request for hose bibs to facilitate cleaning of the bathroom, that they can hook a hose up to a conveniently located hose bib, and then a hose bib to use for watering all the new plantings that will go in, because the Park District is going to assume responsibility for the plant maintenance once the project is complete. And then I had my own personal comment also about, none of the drawings show it, but especially the east facade does have some loosely draped wiring and conduits that have kind of been added over the years when there's been a need for something. There was the one overhead garage door that's on the east side of the facility now actually holds an old vending machine operation, and there was a conduit that was run long ago for that. That's all coming off, so we want to make sure that the useless conduits come off, and that if a conduit or two has to stay, that the North Shore can consider locating the conduits, in a crevice at an intersection interior of two wall joints, and not just run across the face of the building. So that's it. Thank you.
thank you, George.
Pam Russell, 448 Gurney Avenue. These facilities are unique in that they're on our public beach, so I commend you for what you've done in pulling back the buildings, and these plans have improved so much, making it look better. If I'm looking at this right, one of my comments was painting everything the consistent color and matching the fascia board, but it looks like you've adjusted the colors in this to be more of the brownish instead of black, but.
The idea is to match the brick.
No, but the accents.
The dark color.
But so my comment is match the fascia board color for the doors and elements like that. I would recommend not putting the rectangles on the odor control building, just to make it look like louvers. On the left-hand building, the top, the building is nice as it is. The balcony now is staying. It needs a lot of work. I'm unclear as to whether it's going to be rebuilt, but the concrete's all breaking up and the metal's all rusted, so it needs the cosmetic work. And then my other comment, at the PCZBA, there was discussion about the louvered screening on this east facade being high enough to screen the generator trailer. On the the same comment on the north side, just when you're planning the height, consider people coming down the hill and looking at, if you're trying to screen the equipment back there, make them high enough to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Hello, I'm Ann Caldwell, 400 Ravine Avenue. I've talked in front of the board and also in front of the ZB, what do we call it? And I just want to reiterate that I use the beach just about every day of the year, and I know that a great number of people do. In fact, because our beach is not patrolled in the early morning, there are people from maybe 10 different communities that are using our beach. And it's wonderful, actually, that they feel welcome and can have access to this beautiful resource. I commend North Shore Water Reclamation District for all the efforts that they've put into these drawings and attending to the requests and needs of the community, because it has been years of looking at that building and bringing our guests from out of town down to the beach, and they look in one direction and say, what a beautiful, natural, lovely beach. And then they turn around and they say, but what is that? And so finally we have this wonderful opportunity. There's this great infrastructure project about to happen, and along with this project we have an opportunity to really mitigate the appearance of this building on our beautiful beach and take advantage of the opportunities to make it something that enhances and complements the natural beauty that is our beach. And like I said to the board, a lot of our neighboring communities have redesigned their beaches with what I called Disney-like charm. But the charm of our beach really is this sort of prairie, natural sea and sand and rocks and prairie environment. And the more we can take a building like this and choose colors and shapes and a design that will tie in the lovely shelters that we have that are boulders and timber and sort of prairie lines, and give ourselves a flow, an architectural flow from north to south. We love it that that the original drawings moved the buildings out east of the building so that you would have to walk way around before you could afford yourself the view of that lovely vista that goes all the way down the lakeshore to Chicago in the morning. So keeping that space east of these buildings open is wonderful. I would say that the balcony above on the right-hand side, it is crumbling, it is an eyesore, it's rusty. It probably should be removed and considered to put on something. You could put on something lovely there with a nice railing, and that would do a lot to improve the appearance of the building. I agree with Pam and with others that have written letters already that say using more muted colors that are a little bit more natural, like sea and rock or rock and sand colors, I think would maybe draw less attention toward the building. Our purpose here is to draw the attention toward the environment and the surroundings and less toward the building. Would be more sensitive. I'd like the idea of putting some sort of portico over each of the bathroom doors. That might add a little depth to the design, and as would a balcony with a nice railing. And the trees are beautiful. So whatever efforts we can make right now to make this a lovely site to come down and enjoy, it's now or never, because whatever we do now is what we're going to be living with for the next couple of generations, as we have with this. So I think it's really important to do it right and to take the time to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Hi, my name is Bill Herman. I live at 516 East Center. And I think you may have some materials with you today that I submitted. But I generally have 5 points I wanted to raise, although George's report from the Park District sort of undercut some of what I have to say, because it isn't consistent with a conversation with John Beeler from last week. But in any event, in general, I was in favor of the screen, using screening vegetation so that it could get all the way up the wall. I was on the subcommittee or some sort of committee that was formed by the Park District when I think then it was NSSD came to the Park District back 10 or 12 years ago, whenever it was, with this project in the first place. And the master plan that we developed was part of the package of materials that you had received previously as well and been made a part of the public record. That master plan included a green screen, and then there was this report from the village authored by Glenn Cole, and it said, it repeated all the things that were in the master plan from the Park District, including the green screen. And the response that was developed by the village said, throughout prior public workshops, stakeholders and the public emphasized the pumping station should aim to blend in its surroundings as a functional building rather than draw attention to itself through design details. And I think that was in response to the mural that was proposed, but this particular item describes the green screen. And I'm still in favor of the screening, and I think that the screening could be done together with this plant materials because I'd like to see the whole thing covered up. And I don't know if what they're planning to plant there is going to be designed, it's going to be high enough or is a species that will grow high enough to kind of cover the whole wall, especially when you're coming down the hill and you're looking at the north wall. And then I have particular issue with the louver fencing. I don't really like any of it, but especially on the north side, like is in this picture that was in these materials. What I included, and I think you have, are pictures of what's currently on the road, right? And so this is the design that Cliff Miller implemented just over the last couple of years for the Park District, right? This is at the bottom of the steps that come down off of Center. And this wall here comes into these timbers, and it retains the horizontal line of the cement wall, and so it kind of looks like it flows. And this also repeats itself up at the top of the hill by where the gate is. And I understand that some folks were happy about this, we're going to continue this design feature with the louvers that are in the building into the use of the fencing. Well, to me, that's not really a design feature. That's not like an architectural feature. It's a functional ventilation system, right? It has to be there. It's not like somebody put some ornamentation up there and then we're going to use that. And so if we're going to repeat things, and I understand that, architects like to do that kind of thing, what we should be drawing from is what's already there, right? I mean, like, did anybody go down there and look at this? Because the other end of this brick wall runs right into, what's this plastic louver thing, right? And so instead of what should be done there is something like this timber. And I'd be in favor of that all the way around, but mostly, I think, since the wall, it would be continuation of the wall would look better there than, vinyl. And here's another picture. Black vinyl, which to me does not, really scream high quality materials. I mean, to me, I think that's gonna fade, and the sun is gonna warp it, and I don't know how long that thing is supposed to last. So I'm not at all a fan of that, and I would ask that you, respect what the Park District is already done there. My understanding is that John Beeler said the Park District wanted this plan to reflect more of what's already there, the design features that is already on the, you know, the beach and the bluff. And so to me, continuing with the piling or the timbers there would look much better than a black screen where you're walking down into this beautiful natural beach to see a bunch of plastic, right? Vinyl. I mean, that doesn't exactly scream high-end materials to me. And I think we deserve better than that. And again, I think somebody also made the point earlier that that fence, the one that's on the north side, should be elevated up so it would screen all the other stuff. I mean, at these pictures, if you could switch to the other picture from the north view, whoever's running the machine up there, but right now, I mean, here, you know, here's the wall, right? So if this was timbered, it would continue that horizontal nature of this wall, which is sort of more of a design feature than a functional ventilation system. But right now, you've got the fence only coming up here, so when you come down the beach, you're still gonna see all this stuff on the wall and these other doors, and I don't think anybody really wants to see that. So whether it's timber or vinyl louver, we ought to go all the way up to this level and not just stop at halfway at like a 6-foot fence height. I don't know why, you know, it was thought to just leave it there and have all that exposed, because when you walk down the hill, right, you see right into that thing, and it's not really a pleasant view. And then I also included, and I tried the best I could to kind of mock this up from the pictures that were, and the things that were available on the website in terms of what the plans look like now. But it's probably clearest on this one picture I had here. To me, the other issue with these buildings, right, is their sort of their stark industrial look. And I thought if we could put, and I gave these comments to Drew Irwin about 2.5 months ago, but I don't think they ever got anywhere or got anybody's attention. But you could put like a false front roof around that edge to make it softer. And if you want to repeat design features, that would be more in line with what the pavilions look like. The south shelter and the north shelter have sloped roofs. So if we're going to repeat something, you know, I think we could put like a steel roof on there, and it's not a full roof, right? It's just kind of soften that harsh horizontal line that you see when you walk down the hill. And I don't think it would be that expensive. And so I hope you would consider, you know, this is, as somebody else said, this is a generational, multi-generational event for the village, right? The village owns this property, not NSWRD. It's our property. And, you know, I'm not really a fan of the whole project overall. I'll save those comments for the full board, but I think that we need to really put our best foot forward here, because we're never going to have another crack at the apple until this 100-year lease is out, or whatever, however this works, right? So this is it. And as far as I'm concerned, that first plan didn't look like anybody put much effort into it. I don't think anybody walked the site. I'm still not sure if anybody's walked the site with these design features in mind like I'm talking about, but I really think we can put a little bit more into this and really get something that's quite a bit of an improvement over what's being currently presented. And then I had a comment about the location of the garbage dumpster, but I guess it's around the corner. I don't really want to sort of see it sitting out there in the open, but I'm not really sure what to do about that. But I think that should be something that, you know, you got, I would ask you guys to maybe continue that conversation. And I'm also don't understand, is there going to continue to be an overflow outlet. I couldn't tell from looking at these plans, but I'm assuming they might actually need it, but it's not clear to me if there is what it's supposed to be or where it's supposed to be. And then my last comment is to the paint and the color. You know, I don't really know where the color came from. Maybe the color was meant to blend into the sand, but the building is not adjacent to the sand. But if you could go back to whoever's running the slides again, to the view from the east to the new design. That one, yeah. But if you see there, you know, everything behind that is green. Now we're putting a bunch of stuff in front of it that's green. Why don't we just paint this whole thing green? I mean, that would, I don't know what you call this color. I mean, I think Drew told me he called it jaundice yellow. I could think of a couple other things to call it, but it's not very appealing. But if you made it light green or darker hunter green or something like that, it would, from this angle and from pretty much any angle, it would blend right into the bluff. You couldn't even see it. And then that's the whole goal of this process, it seems to me, is to make this as unobtrusive as possible. Right now it sticks out, right? It's sort of like McDonald's yellow or something, blaring like a sign for McDonald's on the highway. And I don't know why it's so glaring and why we can't change that color. That's just paint. I don't think that would run up the budget too much. That's all I had.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Okay. It's our turn. Yep. Want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I really like what is being proposed here. It's you guys have done a great job. I really like the fact that you're widening the landscape buffer as you come down the approach to the bottom of the hill, and I think really that's kind of the most important design element of this building. I think is because everybody comes up and down that stretch. People exercise up and down the hill. That's really the arrival to this building. And so anything you could do to enhance the screening, you know, make it a natural approach, which it looks like you've done earlier. Today I looked at these plans and there wasn't much landscape buffer on that side, and it looks like you've taken some steps to enhance that, which I think is a big improvement. I would agree that I'm not sure about the vinyl fencing behind that buffer. I don't know if there's an option to kind of continue some of that timbering, and or maybe allow the Boston ivy to grow up something just to keep it as natural as possible and mitigate the appearance of that building as much as possible from the approach. I don't know that I would agree with adding any more roof structure or mass of any sort to the building. I think the idea is to, you know, mitigate the appearance of this building as much as possible, and adding roof structure is just gonna, I think, make the building look bigger. I think the color of the brick, so you're proposing to paint the brick, is that correct? No. No, okay.
A couple things, and I don't mean to interrupt the flow of this,
Yeah.
but louvers are not vinyl. They're metal, and some type of an aluminum, so it won't fade. The color is easily adaptable, so if we want to soften it of the louvers to a bronze or a more neutral color, not so stark gray, black, doesn't have to be that. The building can be clad. That little tiny picture in the lower right corner, sorry, it's so small. This was a Friday afternoon before Labor Day that we put this together, but that's the north facade of a building that we have covered with Boston ivy. And I think that would address a lot of the comments that have come forward this evening. So,
Is that deciduous or non-deciduous?
It is deciduous.
It is, okay.
Right, but it's a climbing ivy, and that's on that planting plan right now. You were asking something else, I'm sorry, I kind of.
The brick,
Brick, is the yellow brick of descriptive color, thank you, sir. That's staying just like it is. We don't want to paint it and then watch the paint have to be a maintenance problem. But the idea of making the stucco buildings, which are the ones to the left, which would be the wet well building, the bathrooms, and the odor control building, more closely match the color of the brick. So it doesn't look like I have the brick of one color and then the stucco of another. It would be paint on the southern buildings. The brick would remain as is on the bigger building, which is the pump house.
and so the dark bronze squares on the southern building, is that painted or is that
That would be,
stucco?
well, one comment from Pam said, take those dark, they look like two eyes up on the top of the left building. Just let those stay stucco and leave them in the buff beige, not jaundice yellow color. And then all the other, call it the dark gray color could all just go. What the intent is to have the louvers, the metal fascia or flashing, and the doors that are up above the balcony at least calm down and not look like it's a patchwork, but at least have them all one color. So it's a yellowish color of the brick for the body of the building, and then any of the accent color would be more of a bronze or a lighter tone to not act as such a distinct accent.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
So, this isn't my plan, right? I didn't develop this plan, I didn't come up with this plan. But my reference to vinyl is because it says that in about 10 places in the plan. So, what is it supposed to be?
My fault, sorry.
Okay, Matt.
I do appreciate the effort. I mean, it's a very complicated project. It's, a lot of times clients try to hide something that's an eyesore and they draw more attention to it because they're trying to do so many things to hide it that you actually draw more attention. So that's always the challenge with these type of structures. For me, a more minimal approach to some of this makes sense. I agree with a lot of the comments that the audience has made. I wouldn't do the faux louvers on the left. One idea, and I do like the idea of softening the accent color. The black and yellow is, you see that all around. I would do a softer color just so there is a little bit of accent there, but not such a striking outline. The idea of keeping the brick building kind of, I don't want to say the star, but the prominent element, and then maybe the stucco building is the color of this accent color. So the brick stands the way it is, and we don't have these two volumes that they're never going to look the same. You're going to end up with one kind of yellow and another kind of yellow. I'd rather see the brick building be the brick building, find an accent color that works, and then maybe pull that over to the stucco building. So you have the brick building just stands on its own. It's kind of a lovely utilitarian building. Unfortunately, it's thrown, with pipes and all that all around it, and hopefully some of that's going to be addressed. And on the back side, on the west side, I would paint all that piping to match the brick, not to match the stucco or the brick color. The accent color, I'd try to paint that out to match the brick color. So it's not such a strong network of images on the back. And then on the landscaping, this elevation showing these very mature trees, if you look at the space dedicated for that planting, I'm not an expert in planting, but I would almost recommend maybe pulling that landscape out so there's more of a layer effect instead of like up against the building or the trees. That never really works. I would pull that out. I don't have maybe it's another 10 feet or something, and get a little bit of, get a little bit of a transition between the building and the hardscape instead of like hardscape, some trees, and building. If you kind of layer that, I think you'll also kind of mute that building a little bit instead of just having the building up against the plantings. maybe the other things that people are mentioning, I think are very considerate. I don't like the idea of bringing those timbers to this building. I like the idea that those are special elements, and they should stay where they work successfully. To bring those in front of this building seems to draw more attention and gives that space more prominence than what we want to do. It's a tough battle to try to hide something and bring in lovely elements to hide it, but then your eye kind of informs you that that's a continuation. Now all of a sudden it continues to something that's an eyesore, instead of keeping it framing that beautiful walk wall and then letting the building have its own kind of elements to hopefully screen as much as possible. And I would keep that pipe round. I think that's more elegant than if you did that vent pipe. If you did a square, they're more mechanical looking. I kind of like the Pompadour-ish element of that. It's kind of fun for me. And, for right now, I think, as long as the screens aren't vinyl, and I understand that that's fine, I agree that some kind of metal louver is the right way to go with those covers. That's all I have for right now. Thank you. But thank you it is a tough project, and I appreciate your time and effort on this.
You do.
We've gotten a lot of comments from a number of people tonight, and I'd like to thank them. George Russell and Mickey Collins and Bill Herman and Nan Caldwell, thank you all for the comments that you made. I agree with some of them. I don't agree with all of them. On the drawings that we're looking at, one of the concerns I've got is where the trash receptacle has been relocated to. Where does the garbage truck come in? Is the intent that it'll back all the way in there to load it up? Or will it be wheeled out? The current one receptacle isn't on wheels, I don't think.
It's a front loader. It has the garbage truck that looks like it has two tongs on the front, and then it tips it over its head. So it will be coming in head first. We have to leave enough room for big vehicles to maneuver for the occasion when we are bringing garbage or when we're replenishing the beach with sand. There will be, some large turning movements that still have to occur down there.
That's what I was thinking it was intended. I like the idea of it being back there and not being out in the open. However, those garbage trucks, when they get filled, they're one of the heaviest trucks that you can get on the road. And I hesitate to think of what they're going to do to all the concrete that's being put in. If that concrete is built for over the whole load trucks, like 6 inches of concrete and a foot of gravel base and stuff like that, it'll last for 10 years, but it's not going to last for as long as the maintenance goes. So I don't know where to put the dumpsters, but I think to put them in such a location that the garbage trucks have got to back up there once a week is going to be a problem. I also agree with various comments that were made about the black. It does seem that black has become the hula hoop of the day when you're painting the exterior, and I think come years down the road, it would be a mistake. Black tends to show dirt better than others, and particularly if you do it in a glossy black. If you do it flat black, it'll wear off too quickly. So, but I could see it in a bronze, a lighter bronze, or a sand color, something that fits. But between the buildings, you had a photograph up there earlier that showed the front elevation.
You should have it there.
The new elevation. Yeah.
Front elevation illustration.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Yeah, that one.
It's the same drawing. It's just
Yeah.
These trees are bigger.
There are two things that, I guess three things on this. One is the two black rectangles that are going above the south building. I don't think that they serve any purpose, and I don't think that they help.
Those are just painted panels. People have commented, just cool it, don't do that. So we're not too far off.
A second thing is, the building is kind of bland, and it could use something on the face of it that could also serve as above the two bathrooms. A possibility would be to put a canopy that would stick out about 3 feet and go the full length, not of the building, but on this drawing, there's another line up right here.
Look at the plan view.
Go along there that would add some interest to the building, and at the same time, give some people a place to stand when it rains. A third thing, and this is minor, and that's it on, if you can picture where this door is on the picture, there's currently a red sign on there that says, "Danger, don't go in here because there's electrical equipment." Well, it's on a balcony that's not accessible to the public, and I think that sign should be removed.
There's also a davit arm crane for lifting that will be removed as well.
Yeah, okay. I like the balcony itself staying, because otherwise there's not much interest to that building. And I think some of the other comments that I saw were from the PCZBA. They said that the Tesla plans and the AECom engineering plans don't match.
We're working on that. Some of the things that we did, the AECom didn't catch up with in time. We've just sent our background plans back to them. Some of the widening of the planting beds, you'll see, had not occurred on the AECom plans. We widened the
And
planting.
you guys may make more changes tonight, so after tonight, so it just gives them more to catch up on.
It has been moving.
And I like George's thought about removing the conduit and the wire that's willy-nilly on the exterior of the building. There's no reason that couldn't be inside and serve the same purpose. And so I think those are the main things I had. I like Bill's idea of putting the wood up there like they did on, however, I suspect that they're gonna have to get at that equipment at various times over the years, and to remove all the wood siding on there would be a real job.
The louvers on the north side do have to be able to be removed if they have to switch a transformer and get to that. It's all just power switchgear. It's on the north side west end. And so those have to be removable so they can get a lift in there or in an arm in there. But I think that one of the things that I didn't want to interrupt some of the comments is that the evergreen plantings at the foot of the hill, I can easily switch those to a taller evergreen. If we do have to make a lift, we would have to either boost over or remove an evergreen for the event that they have to, switch out a transformer or something to that effect. But the louvers would, at least now, we wanted to make them so they were something they could remove if they needed to get access.
Well, I guess as far as some people have talked about the height of the louvers, of taking them all the way up. I'm not as concerned about that, because if you're at the top of the hill walking down, you're gonna see over them anyway. But if you're at the bottom of the hill and you can't see the machinery behind them, to me, that's
Yeah.
fine. But if you're halfway up the hill and you can start seeing them, well, it's softened and
The evergreens that we have down there, there's quite a stack of them, 14 of them. We have a different variety that we can use to get taller. They like shade. They're not the most perfect native plant, but they're the right plant for that location. And I think that the comments that have come from various meetings that we've had said, try and use native plantings that would appear on the bluff and at the upper park, down at the end of the beach. But they are a cedar species, and they can get tall, stay evergreen. So I think that we've done a pretty good job with the landscape. It's kind of coming to save the day, so to speak, with a lot of the comments that we've received here.
okay. I think that's all I've got.
Really, I agree with all the other comments people have made. Just a couple of questions. If I understand it, what is now brick will remain brick. What is now stucco will remain stucco. In any new walls that are built will be stucco.
You've got it.
And these balconies, will they have railings on them and so forth as they do now?
I don't have an answer to that. We've showed the balcony to stay because they have to be able to switch out interior pump equipment. That's what those two doors are on
Right, I
the north
understand.
building. I don't know that they need a permanent balcony. It could be that what they're gonna do is use a lift to get to those doors. Dave, do you know anything about that?
Those doors do open, so since they can be open from the inside, I think code would require a railing in the wall section.
Okay. And then the last comment I would make is, I share your concern about the size of the planting bed, because this looks awfully optimistic, this amount of landscape here for the size of the bed that it's sitting in.
Might be that way in 10 years or 20.
Well, I'm not sure when, but
These are tall, vertical, upright plantings.
do you think there's enough space for those to?
That one is about 7 feet wide. The one on the north is about a 10-foot wide bed. To try and widen that would just further, on the east side, would further reduce the amount of
Turning.
navigability for trailers and trucks and semis and everything else. It's not going to be a traffic jam down there, but we also have to balance out. And, if the tree does end up growing up against the building, it's a heck of a lot more effective than those metal trellises. When those were shown by the Park District, there was, nothing as far as planting bed. So I think that our trees will do fine there.
Yeah.
The other thing, Mike, can you enlarge that little tiny picture on the lower right?
Sure.
Okay,
I would just kind of add the comment, he's the landscape architect, so, I can say anything and you can't hold me to it, but I always reminded of the Lake Forest Library, the two contemporary editions that were put on several years ago. And they had spectacular plantings right up against the building that really hid the building for a number of years. And I can't believe that was more than a 5-foot bed. I always thought that was one of the best additions ever on that historical building. Those two really worked well together. And also, I live close to Lake Forest College. The new addition for the athletic facility, that building is higher than the setback from Sheridan Road, and that's been screened, and now the building is invisible, essentially. So I think those are two examples of how we can screen. And then the Boston Ivy, and I was showing George and Pam behind me. I have a home that I built 28 years ago, not far from the college, and we covered the whole home in Boston Ivy in about 3 years. It took over. And it's a great screening, and I'm not embarrassed about the house, but it really works well, and obviously in the winter months, the leaves drop, just like at Wrigley Field, but it can cover up some sins, I think, and that would be the intent as well. So, back to you, Nick.
thanks, good one.
I guess another brief comment I just thought of is, as far as maintenance is concerned, that's been mentioned a couple of times. I don't think that any of the trim or things like that on the building have been painted in the last 20 or 30 years. So I would put everything in there that you can with the idea that you're not gonna have to take care of it because nobody is going to.
So, yeah, high maintenance, the exposure that it has, we all know what happens in the winter down there. It gets blasted. And so any of the materials that we put down there have to be able to endure sun, wind, spray, ice. It's serious business down there in the winter. So I think that your comment, if I'm understanding correctly, is that what we do put in there has to be something that's durable and maintainable. I shuddered at the idea of painting the brick, knowing even the best paint job, we're gonna start to see yellow patches showing through if we try to change the color of the building. So I didn't wanna advocate, doing that as a paint job on the building, on the brick building.
Is that it? My turn? Okay. I'm going to come at this from a slightly different perspective, and I'm not going to disagree with anything that has been said so far much. But one of the things that we're going to be looking at some point down the line is the yacht club is going away and then it's coming back hopefully. And from what I've seen so far, they have got, if you're looking west, standing on the beach, there are 3 low masses with openings in between. And right now, it looks like those are going to be some wood-looking material. Whether it's wood or not, I don't know. But in looking at the newer plan and seeing the wet well building and then the 2 toilet rooms, those are separate masses from the other things. Now I'm thinking about how do we integrate things along the stretch of beach? And maybe whatever the yacht club does on their 3 blocks of facades, which let's just say it's horizontal wood, maybe this lower building becomes that same material instead of, and then so that you could see more of it, something that Matt said earlier about the sort of rigidity of the, I think that's what he said, of the plant material along the east side of the building. If there's enough room, and it looks to me like there might be, if you just kind of, as you're coming around the bend, then just kind of swerve that out just a little bit and come back, and maybe you don't have such high trees all the way down there, but now you can see this wood or whatever this other material is. So now you've kind of broken up the mass of all these yellow boxes by introducing another material that then is going to be introduced, another 50 feet away. That's just a thought that occurred to me as I'm sitting here. But otherwise, I think the other comments I'm on board with. Is that a possibility?
Well, we met early. You probably saw some of the presentations where we were tandem with North Shore or Lake Bluff Yacht Club.
Right.
And I kind of twisted their arm to say, what are these buildings made out of? We saw form, we saw shape, we saw height, we saw mass, but we didn't see what the materials of the fence, we didn't see what the materials of the containers were. If you know something that we don't know, share it. But it was just a white vanilla box.
That's been, kind of gone away, and the idea is that these containers would be covered
They're
with
clad
the material.
something, but
Yeah.
the something is undefined.
Yeah.
And I do understand what you're saying about the massing, the pump house, the odor control are the 2 bookends, and can we do something different with the fronts? Even if it's just color, to kind of break down the scale. It's an interesting idea.
No, I think it's a great idea. I would add this, though. I think at a traditional front elevation of the streetscape, it would be important to see that total vista of those buildings. Keep in mind, no one's going to see that unless they're out on a boat. And I'm amused at some of the commentary that's been, not today, but in the past. You need to be out in the boat to be able to see some of the issues that we've talked about. And so I think that's a great comment, but that long massing won't be seen.
Oh, you walk right by it.
You'll be right next to it, I guess the point is.
Yeah.
And that's, so I think all the comments that have been made here have been very helpful, and we can make those accommodations. No one's really talked about the plaza, and shame on me for not really pointing it out more. That was an inspiration that I had. I mean, the smart trustee would have said, just put asphalt back and just run it up against the building, and be done. But I thought this would be a great place to have a venue, to have events there. And by extending that landscaping, I think you take away that opportunity in addition to all the traffic. And I don't understand why, and we haven't even gotten into this, why we need an 8-yard dumpster when I'm involved in a lot of commercial buildings. And we have smaller dumpsters that get wheeled 50, 100 feet, and they can get picked up every other day rather than have it come once a week. And I think that helps with the odor control as well, because if garbage goes in there and just kind of sits there for a week, the odor will get blamed for our odor control building. So I think those are great comments. I don't know why we need an 8-yard dumpster and it's not our garbage, by the way. We're not.
Whose garbage is it that's going to fill up, and they're not going to know it's back there?
You're right. Well, I agree that, but I think if you could roll a 2-yarder
But
up there, I
this is
think
not a
is much.
rollout, though. This is a,
Nope.
This is not a pull-out. That's a heavy,
Heavy.
I would comment that if you have to wheel them, somebody will raise the question of, well, who's gonna wheel them over, and it's a long distance. Well, if you take the distance from where they are to the other side of the building, when I take my garbage dumpster and wheel it out, I go twice that far. So
get to your
it's
end of
not
your
a big
driveway.
deal to wheel them out there. I agree with you. I think
I
that's a great
don't think
idea.
so. And again, we're trying to accommodate the Park District, but I don't think it's that big. An 8-yarder, that's a big box. And, there are probably gonna be weeks when it doesn't need to get picked up. And then there's weeks when it probably, overflowing. I mean, Mike would know better than I, but I just think that, that's a little overkill with an 8-yarder.
The only time that they get that full is after a party event.
Big event.
4th of July and Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend, something where there's just a lot of people. And Tom's right that we've talked to Park District a couple times to say, can you go smaller? And it has to do with the pickup. If they chose to pick it up more frequently than once a week, then I would think that, more frequent pickup, smaller cans could work. But
I think you're right about the weight issue. That concrete will certainly suffice for all the big payloaders and garbage trucks that go down there. I mean, we're gonna insist on it. One comment about the engineers, sanitary district does not have, we have that much debt. We can bond up to about $400 million. We have about $8 million of debt now. And it's because it's designed by engineers, guys like George, who insist on doing things better, thicker, last longer. All our buildings are built that way. And this trustee is not opposed this fall, so I'll be around for the next 2 years to make sure that conduit that are placed outside of a building that is hideous, that somebody didn't care about, won't happen. We need to get in the ground this fall so we don't lose a full year. We'd like to, get your approval and move on. I think I've talked too much. So, thank you, though.
thank you, Tom. So the plaza's a brilliant idea.
I think
It really is.
You can have 150 people down there for,
Yeah.
any weekend. I think it's a great use, and not just to have a hideous parking lot that's, falling apart.
Anyway, I guess my summary of my thinking is that everything down there, as far as this building goes, is a background. And the least we can do to decorate it, I think the better off we are, with the exception maybe of what I described as this low piece of material that would match whatever the yacht club is doing. And we don't know what that is yet. But it's not going to be the white block that you saw before. That much I know. So, anybody else have any other comments? Anybody else out there have any? Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I just have one question, and it was a comment about paint, that there are new industrial paints now that really are durable and do last in seascape landscapes, in seaside areas. And so I just thought, I don't know anything about it, but I just thought I'd ask that question. Does anybody know about those paints? Because it would be nice to have all 3 buildings match in an attractive color.
The only paint I know that I used years and years ago was $140 a gallon, and it was to match terracotta.
Hi, so, Boston ivy is not native. There's already Oriental bittersweet vines coming down the hill that attacks that fence that's along the north view. So it's already out of control, and I don't really know that we want to set this loose on the bluff if it's not native, given the efforts that the Park District has been making to try and get the native species in there and the invasives out. And also the comment about the, you know, using the timber as the north fence there and the height, I wasn't quite sure where we wound up with the height, but I think now there's a metal railing, and I don't know that it's movable, or I think it's fixed. So I'm not sure how people talked about there needing to be access there to those transformers or whatever those things are. And if there's not access now with a solid fixed metal railing along there, it doesn't seem like to me.
You can't tell what's there.
Yeah, there's a railing right there. I remember there being a fence there.
I
But
don't
it's
know what's,
removable.
I don't know what's between there and that platform.
Concrete,
Just concrete?
yeah.
Where are we?
Well, either discussion or a motion.
Let's see how we can have a motion on this.
Hmm?
We need to do what they can do so they can get construction
Yeah.
started, but they,
Yeah, some of this is,
Complex is too
some of
much yet
this,
to
yeah,
see.
but a lot of this, I mean, they have to get it bid. But like what I was talking about, you know, that decision doesn't get made now.
yeah.
But I think everything else does, but a lot of this is, you know, paint color. What gets painted, we're not changing structure of anything. There's nothing,
Yeah, paint color, whether it's painted,
well, I would.
Other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, are we ready to make a motion then?
What's in the motion?
That's my point, yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of comments that we all
Yeah.
sort of, you know, seem to be on board with.
what do you need to start construction?
Can I kind of run through some of the things that are stuck in my head that I think are constructive comments that could be considered? But toning down the accent color was one of the comments, and that could be something I think that would be considered. I think George Russell's comments about just cleaning up some of the errant conduit and signs that you had mentioned, Mr. Dolman. Elevating the, consider the heights of the plant material and whether or not we could look at widening some of the plant beds. That was a comment that I can look at on the east side. Making sure that we don't reference vinyl as the louver. It would be a durable aluminum or some metal structure. I don't know that we had anything specific about the trash enclosure, I'm sorry, the trash location. I think most people found that to be a favorable location. The appearance of the front buildings, the wet well and the bathrooms, if there's an opportunity to match up something that's complementary to the yacht club, I think that was a constructive suggestion. I don't know how you include that in a motion, but it could be a condition to say, consider.
You need to put in a coordination between the park district and the size of the dumpster.
You could include that. I know that they've been adamant about 8-yard dumpsters. The pipe location, I'm sorry, it's a vent pipe that connects that S-shaped pipe. Keeping it round appears to be acceptable, but trying to tone the color down so it just fades out, and so it would be more likely the color of the building. The balcony needs attention to both rebuild it. We're going to remove, by the way, the vending roll-up door and the 2 wings that enclose that, but the railing on the balcony needs to be addressed so it doesn't look so stair-stepped like. It needs to be clean and simple. And so I think that rebuilding the balcony, the roof over the bathrooms, I thought that was a great suggestion, and that would kind of help unify that whole east facade and give place for people to take shelter. If it does happen to be a sudden storm and you need a place to go under cover, you've got a 3 or 4 foot wide canopy over those doors. Great idea. those, the comment about, are we exclusively native plants? We're not. This isn't a natural building. This is an industrial building. We're trying to use plants that are going to be functional, that are native derived, and trying to basically do something that's going to appear to be appropriate for the location. Is Boston ivy a native? Virginia creeper is. We could use that same kind of thing. So I think the concern was just not letting it get out of hand. I agree with that. I'm just going through notes. If you have something else that I might have
I
missed.
think that covers what we had. Ann, you got a question?
Yeah, I do, because I don't know if you stood underneath that balcony. Standing underneath that balcony, looking up at it, it's crumbling. And the metal band that surrounds it is rusting. It's probably the worst part of the whole building.
That can be painted.
Well,
No, no.
Does the balcony need to be there anymore?
Well, it probably doesn't, but it's the only thing on that facade that provides any interest.
We don't need the balcony. I think the balcony was created
For the arm.
crane arm that was installed on it to move equipment in and out of the upper levels. We'll need the doors there for access. As far as a staging platform or balcony, I mean, that theoretically could be decorative.
If you make it decorative and put a fancy railing around it, then it becomes a destination, and it's not. And,
Possibly.
you know,
Are you required to have something outside those doors, though, for
We would
safety?
have to have a railing.
Some kind of a railing?
Something to seal
But
that
some kind of a railing might actually look nice and give it a little relief, architectural relief to the flat facade. Thank you.
Do those doors swing in or out? Yeah. You could do like a little Juliet belt, railings just across there, which would suffice if they swung in, instead of, but.
but if the balcony itself is deteriorating, and that's what Ann is saying, I think.
Well, I'm just saying a railing just on the brick that's
Yeah.
like 4 inches off.
If it can be removed and just clean it up the facade, that might be the simplest way. And then when they're operating, opening the doors, they can put a safety, it's a bucket truck or a crane truck that has to go up there to go in and lift a motor out, a pump out. Maybe the cleanest thing to do is just to get it off of there and not try and make an ornament out of it.
That, yeah. It's- Anybody disagree with that?
I have one other question.
Yeah.
The stoop that's serving the north side entry door, is that being replaced, or I can't quite tell if that's gonna remain it looks like that's in pretty bad shape.
Concrete stoop,
Yeah, that's staying, it's not gonna be,
it's an access door, it will stay.
the stoop, the stoop that accesses that door, yeah,
Concrete stoop.
okay. That looks like it's in pretty bad shape, that we've gotten some
Oh,
other pictures.
well,
sent
the
to us.
access needs to remain. If it's crumbled and broken,
Yeah, it's all kind of, it'd be nice to tie that into the, whatever material you're using for the drive approach there.
it's a utility access door, and that would stay. So I think, right, if it's all crumbled up, let's do it at the same time.
I think you've kind of got our list right, Nick. Does anybody disagree with what Nick listed off? or-
The only thing he didn't catch was the faux louvers on the stucco building.
is.
But, yeah, I
That's
don't, but it wasn't mentioned, but
Yeah.
we've all said it.
We've all
Just
said
in his rundown. I was writing it down. I just wanted to make sure that's,
And then also, I think the Plan Commission had a condition that the AECom drawings will be revised to match the Tesco drawings, not
Sooner or
not
later.
vice versa. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So do we want to see the drawings once more, or should they revise them as needed and then submit them to Mike and then he'll decide?
I think we don't want to get in the way. Some of this stuff is not going to get in the way. I don't know that we need to, you're not changing the drawings as far as you know, as far as the functionality of this whole plan.
Right, so some of the comments that were made here are frankly minor and won't impact the working drawings that are gonna be put out
Right.
to bid fairly soon. I think they're prepared next week, and they'll street, and hopefully we'll be getting some good news because of the market. But we need to move forward, that's for sure. So, you know, virtually all the comments will not impact, I think, as we move forward. Certainly not the paint, not the louvers, not you know, the only thing is when the plaza gets smaller and the planting bed gets wider, it may impact those numbers. But for the most part, what's been said here is not going to impact the working drawings for the
Right.
engineer. So if you wanted to create, you know, my experience, you want to create a little subcommittee and kind of look at some of the palette of the colors, that's fine.
We should do that just because that's what our job is. But I don't think we have to have well, we do have to just do it at a meeting.
Yeah, right.
We don't have to have everybody rehash everything that's already been done. So when you zero in on some of these things, then
I think that what we're hoping is that there becomes a recommendation with conditions, that you would find if it's a come back to subcommittee and it's favorable in a subcommittee, the conditions can be addressed. But I think we're trying to get to village board and to get to village board approval, so we can proceed with building permit.
we can do that, and I wouldn't call it a subcommittee, we just get together.
Or just have certain conditions that
Yeah,
come back to this
we'll
group
just-
for a future
yeah.
mean, yeah. So an approval with certain
Yeah,
things to come back.
we're not gonna stop you, Nick,
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
So, who's the motion maker around here, Matt?
I'm taking copious
I got
notes,
copious notes because I know someone has to pick up the. Are we, is this for recommendation?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Okay. I move that we recommend to the board the following items for either review or revisions by the North Shore Water Reclamation District for their application for their new,
So it's for the approval
Go-
of what we've got with
Yeah.
certain things to be.
thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna run through. One, to review the accent color for the building. We recommend not using black, but use more of a bronze color, something more in that family. Relocate all conduit, exposed conduit, as much as possible. Review height of plant materials and bed widths. Note that the louvers are not vinyl, but some kind of aluminum or steel. Eliminate the faux louvers. Review the yacht club materials to see if we can incorporate that into any of our new finishes adjacent to the new Lake Bluff Yacht Club construction area. Paint out all remaining pipes to match the brick that are on the building, especially on the west side. Remove the balcony. Add a canopy or roof at the new bath entrance. And remove the stoop on the north side and replace to match new material that will be used for the plaza. And then there will be a review of the finishes at a later date by this committee.
Sound okay? Work for you guys?
That's great.
Okay. Everybody heard it? Somebody needs to make a motion.
Second, or the motion that was made?
Who made the motion?
Matt
Oh,
made the
Matt made the,
motion. It was a
okay, you
motion.
seconded it? All right. Well, roll call.
Okay, Matt made the motion, Art seconded it, okay. Member Stradiff,
Aye.
Member Kerouac,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Cottrell,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
All right,
Okay, motion passes.
good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming and,
This will empty the room.
hey, Nick. Actually, both of you. This is kind of what I'm talking about, Tom. If you just, I don't know what this dimension is here. I'm just saying, just a little softening. Doesn't have to go out that far. Let's get it far. And then maybe not have so much high stuff here, just, so this would be, this wood stuff, and this would be here and here and here. And this. I see this going straight across. And that'd be the roof. Yeah. Yeah, look at this, gets this nice kind of silky shape to it. Okay, all right, you got it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Took care of the organist, didn't it? Took care of the whole audience.
Exciting.
Cellular companies don't show up.
No, it's.
All right, what do we got next?
Our whole
Okay,
audience
so
is-
next we have T-Mobile for equipment on the cell tower, and we have Christina Wilburn from Crown Castle here on Zoom to speak to us.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Good
So,
evening. I'm just calling for a modification alteration for 45 East Center Avenue for the existing cell tower. We're going to be removing 9 antennas and installing 6. It will have a passing structural and it should not affect anything adversely.
I didn't understand what you said.
My business seems very small this evening after the Park District.
right. So you said removing 9 antennas and installing 6, right?
Yes, so we'll be downgrading 3.
Yeah.
This is the T-Mobile or the?
Yeah, T-Mobile.
This is T-Mobile. Yep.
I don't even know what I'm looking at.
I have no problem with it as long as all the wires are inside the
That's your
Yeah.
question.
pipe.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's the same except for there's 3 less antennas.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions?
No. I feel that. Have you had these yet come up in front of you? No. Yeah.
Okay,
What are we
are
looking at?
we gonna make a motion on this?
The only
Yep.
thing is we make sure that the wires go in. They always go in.
Who's gonna make a motion?
All right, I'll move the T-Mobile work on the cell tower be approved as submitted.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Okay. Member Cottrell,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Kerouac,
Aye.
and Member Stratiff,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. It's approved.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hope you get paid by the hour sitting through that first one.
There's a base and an extra. We'll be giving the extra this evening.
There you go. Perfect.
You guys have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
I'll be getting an email.
Yeah, I'll send you an email confirming it.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Sure, no
Good
problem.
night, guys.
Yep. Take care.
Okay. Next is AT&T, who owns the tower, right?
No, Crown Castle owns the tower, but next is AT&T. Yes, Nicole Thompson is here to talk to us about AT&T's work.
Okay. What are we doing, Nicole?
Yeah, hi. Essentially the same as T-Mobile at the 45 East Center Avenue tower. We will be removing 6 antennas, 2 per sector, and installing 6 new antennas. We also have a passing structural, and all the other equipment will be remaining essentially the same, just modifying for the new antennas.
So all wires are inside and all the equipment is in the little building that's already there, right?
Yes, correct. There will be no change in the number of antennas for our project.
Okay. Any questions, anybody?
Just a complete idle curiosity. Why are you changing the antennas?
So T-Mobile and AT&T are both upgrading their systems to what they're calling C-band, which is to enhance the 5G network.
I see. That's the only question I had.
So for a motion, how about if I say ditto?
Ditto?
These look exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Okay,
I second the ditto.
Okay,
roll call.
okay. Member Stradiff.
Aye.
Member Kerouac.
Aye.
Member Dahlman.
Aye.
Member Cottrell.
Aye.
And Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. It's approved.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Now we're going back and looking at,
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to bring up last meeting, we had approved the Fit to Defend out on, by Skokie Highway there with the drawings to come back to me to show the revisions to match the motion we made. And, yeah, I think for the most part, they did a pretty good job at matching the drawings to our motion. Although one thing I see that they've added is on the garage door, they added their website, fittodefend.com, in fairly sizable letters above the logo. And, you know, we had, I think, been kind of generous in interpreting that as a non-sign graphic in order to not make them go through the variance process, which would go to village board. And so I think adding that text is probably not really consistent with our interpretation of that as a non-sign graphic. So I'm thinking they should either drop that extra text up at the top, or if they really want it, you know, come back to us and ask for approval of the variance that would go to the village board. What do you guys think about this?
is there any place else that they could put it instead that wouldn't create an issue? Like on the entry door, you wouldn't see that.
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could do it on the entry door, but yeah, only someone who's walking up to the door would see it. Although if, you know, if someone's showing up when they're closed and looking for their website, I guess that'd be the person.
He's already got it here, and he's got it here.
All right, yeah.
I'm sorry, he's got it where and where?
The words.
The name,
He's
yeah.
got it right here.
Well, he's got the name, but he doesn't have the
He doesn't
website.
have
today,
it,
but
he
that's
doesn't have it
overnight.
as the website.
Yeah,
Fittodefend.com.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I would be inclined to say put it on the door and call it a day.
On the man door, the glass door, yeah,
Does that
that's fine.
comply?
Yeah, but that would comply with code.
Otherwise, I still think it's a cool graphic, and I know, I see that he left the arrows on there, which I think is fine,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because they're part of the graphic, they're just neat looking, I don't care if I get lost.
You don't really see like website advertisement on like signs,
Right.
I think. I can't imagine, you know, people just Google Fit to Defend and it'll show up, you know, you don't really have to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
however. It shouldn't be on that garage,
no, it shouldn't be on the garage.
for sure, and
Yep.
it should be very small on
I don't,
They have that little.
the
scanner
QR thing, yeah, for sure.
the
Yeah.
sign, the big sign is electric, I mean, it could be if he just wants to turn it on,
Yeah, right,
because he said it could be electrified or something like that.
right, the wall sign,
Yeah, the
yeah.
wall sign,
Yeah, right,
Okay. No, I think that's fine.
yep, okay.
All right.
Okay, sounds good.
We don't have to do anything with this.
That's all I needed.
All right.
One thing I forgot to ask in the previous decision, will those bathrooms be heated?
Is what?
Will they be heated?
You know, that's a good question.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Open like through the winter and heated, or?
I don't know
is it
for
just a
sure.
Seasonal
I
bathroom?
don't know for sure.
What, the bathrooms down
Yeah,
there?
the
I
bathrooms.
can't
That was a
imagine that
question.
they're gonna.
Yeah, George,
George had raised that
George
question.
raised
I
that
never
question.
heard it. Yeah,
I don't think it was brought up.
yeah, I've not heard them commit to heating
I don't
it
think, I
all
think they,
winter.
you know, the ones on the north building, I think they locked down.
Yeah, they drain them and
Yeah.
they're seasonal.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Park District would also be reluctant to
heat 'em.
do that, because, you know, it's their they're gonna have to send people down to clean them,
Yeah.
Right.
so,
Well, I hope they clean them anyway.
well, that would be another.
Right, but all-
you know,
but all winter,
the
you know, they
business
gotta
of
send
the-
people to clean
The
'em.
smaller dumpster, I'm thinking, that's never gonna happen.
Because otherwise they're gonna have to, because there's a lot of people that use those through the winter, and they use the porta potties that are down there.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
those
They have
things,
to keep the-
those things occasionally get extremely gross.
Anyway, something to think about. As a runner, I'm in favor of heating them through the winter, but it's on my loop.
Just
Yeah.
over the fence. Yeah, that's-
You just don't use the hand warmer? I just use the hand warmer.
Plus, there's the polar bear club, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Oh,
that
for
use
sure.
that all
Where
winter
else?
long.
Yeah.
The Park District has to have other garbage stuff down there, I
Well,
don't.
should we,
They do,
should we
I guess we can adjourn.
Okay.
and what they
I move
do
to adjourn.
Is
Do I
they
move?
empty the
Second
garbage
for
cans
adjournment?
into that dumpster
Say yes.
and store it down.
second motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
meeting is adjourned.
I'm
Appreciate
gonna
it.
take this with.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what'd you guys think of the idea of adding the wood to that?
Yeah, I just, what I would want to see is what they're doing.